Hi, thank you for watching. I wanted to talk about this Gillette TV commercial that aired in, I guess, late 2018 and 2019. I want to talk about this Gillette commercial that's stirring all this controversy and toxic masculinity, and I want to relate that to Jesus Christ. So let's talk about this commercial. In this Gillette commercial, you see people watching TV shows depicting men whistling at women. You see boys being shamed on social media. You see boys fighting over something and the fathers barbecuing and saying, boys will be boys. And then you get to the message of the commercial, a man being the best that a man can be. And you see actor Terry Crews, I guess, testifying before Congress saying men need to hold other men accountable. You see a father stopping two boys from fighting. You see guys telling other guys not to take unwanted pictures of girls in swimsuits. You see boys stopping bullying. You see a father teaching his young daughter to say, "I am strong," in front of a mirror. And you hear this phrase, boys watching today are going to be the men of tomorrow. Now, this commercial has been heavily criticized because apparently some believe that it's sexist. Many are saying, well, okay, men have issues. What about women having issues? What about pointing the finger of blame and criticism at women's problems? Well, personally, this is just me. I see nothing wrong with the commercial. I think it's a very positive commercial. I think anytime that you see something in mainstream culture that encourages fathers to teach boys how to act, that's a good thing. I think anytime you see something in pop culture, whether a TV commercial or whether a TV episode or whether a movie scene, anything in pop culture that depicts fathers teaching their boys to be kind and considerate and respectful, that's a good thing. We have an epidemic in the American culture of fatherlessness, really. And let's be honest also, the majority of offenders are men. I mean, I'm recording this on January 24th, 2019. The day before, on January 23rd, 2019, we just found out that some man went in and shot women in some bank. So, and you can watch the news. So, you know what? I think it's okay for Gillette to put out a commercial encouraging boys not to fight, encouraging guys to tell other guys not to just take random pictures of women in bikinis. I think it's okay. It's a good thing to see muscle-bound, Expendables actor Terry Crews saying that men need to hold other men accountable. I think we need more of that and not less of that. And when the issue of toxic masculinity comes up, I have to say, yes, there is toxic masculinity. Now, is there toxic femininity? I'm sure there is. But I think toxic masculinity needs some attention in our society. And I don't mind if it comes, again, through a commercial or a meme or a TV show or a movie, whatever. I think boys and girls need lots and lots more examples of good fathers and good men. When you have Bill Cosby, the famous actor who was considered back in the 1980s as America's dad, when you have him in jail for the rape conviction, and so many examples of men behaving badly and bad fathers. Again, it's okay, it's good to have Gillette put out a pro-father, pro-good man commercial. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. In the Bible, we have Jesus. And I think that Jesus confronted toxic masculinity, toxic whatever you want to call it. In the Bible, in John chapter 8, we have a situation where the religious leaders in the first century brought before Jesus a woman caught in the act of adultery. And the question could be asked, what about the man? It takes two, usually. So the man caught in adultery was not brought before Jesus. Maybe he wasn't caught. Either way, a woman was caught in the act of adultery. She is dragged before Jesus, and the religious leaders basically try to use her to trap Jesus into saying something that will get him in trouble with the people and with the religious aristocracy of his time. John chapter 8 is a great example of toxic masculinity. Those Pharisees and Sadducees and wouldn't sees and couldn't sees, they were using religion for their own gain. They were getting wealthy because they insisted upon people charging a whole lot of money for animals to be sacrificed in the temple for their sins. A lot of times people could not afford the animals. And they basically used religion as big business to line their pockets. And they opposed Jesus, not because they opposed what he was doing. They opposed him because Jesus going around healing the sick and giving forgiveness of sins, that cut into their commerce. And I could talk about that for a long time. But in John chapter 8, they're using this woman to try to trap Jesus. And this is the story, where they say, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses commands us to stone such women. What do you say?" And he's caught. If Jesus says, "Come on, guys, give her a break," they would say, "Aha, he cares nothing for the law of Moses or our beautiful religion. He's a heretic, an infidel." If Jesus said, "Well, if the law of Moses says stone her, I guess stone her," then guess what? At that point, she's dead. So basically, he was caught. Jesus, with spiritual brilliance, he bends down and begins to write in the ground. Most likely, he was writing out the commandments. And they say, "Teacher, what do you say?" And that's when he said his famous line, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." And he continues writing in the dirt or dust below. And it says that one by one, the religious leaders who really embodied toxic masculinity, toxic religion, toxic spirituality, one by one, they dropped their stones. The older ones first. Why the older ones first? We don't know. Most likely because they had lived longer and they were more acutely aware of their own imperfections and sins and shortcomings. He who was without sin cast the first stone. They all walked away. And Jesus, who really embodied a healthy masculinity, a healthy spirituality, a healthy connection with God, he walked up to her and said, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" She says, "No one, sir." And he says, "Then neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." So he's saying, I'm not going to condemn you, but I'm also not going to just turn a blind eye to adultery. Jesus was firm but fair. He spoke the truth in love. In John's Gospel, it says that he was full of grace and truth. Not just grace and mercy and no truth. If he was that, he'd be too lenient. And he wasn't just full of truth and no grace. If he was that, then he might be too harsh. No, he was full of grace, mercy, love, but also truth and justice and the right thing to do. So Jesus embodied a healthy masculinity, a healthy spirituality, which is what I see in this controversial Gillette commercial. And he says, then neither do I condemn you. He wouldn't condemn her, but he would not condone her sin. That's very important. He would not condemn her, but he would not condone her sin. And that's how Jesus is with all of us. God did not send his Son to condemn the world, but that through his Son the world might be saved. John 3:17. Jesus did not condemn her, but did not condone her sin. He said, then neither do I condemn you, but go, you're free to go, but sin no more. Which didn't mean never sin again, because nobody can never sin again. He meant go and stop committing adultery. That she can do. So to me, the Gillette commercial is simply encouraging a healthy masculinity over the toxic masculinity that we see so many examples of in our 21st century culture. Is it weird for a Gillette commercial, a commercial about razors, to be promoting a healthier version of masculinity? Yeah, I guess so. But we gotta calm down and stop being so offended by every little thing. It's not a bad thing. The message in this commercial is okay. In fact, it's more than okay. I think the message in this Gillette TV ad is necessary, needed in our society, especially in America. And when it comes to Jesus, Jesus opposed toxic masculinity almost every day of his ministry. He did. And the religious leaders of his day, they really embodied this self-absorbed, me-centered, greedy, selfish masculinity that's just so against God and God's ways, and being a healthy, normal, growing, evolving human being. So we need to lighten up when it comes to TV commercials. If you watched the Gillette TV ad and were offended, maybe lighten up and maybe realize that we have this issue in our culture. We need to see more healthy examples of manhood, even in a 2.5 minute long commercial. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. We need better fathers. We need healthier men. And we need more of Jesus and his way, his truth, his life. And we need less of the kind of toxic masculinity and toxic spirituality that Jesus opposed every day of his ministry. Thanks for watching. God bless.